Hey everyone, welcome back to Valley of Secrets. I'm your host, Nikki Ruth. Today's story takes us back to February 19th, 1983. A cold rain is falling over Chilliwack, British Columbia. Streetlights flicker along Vedder Road, and the reflections broken by puddles. A 10-year-old girl walks alone through that rain, a pink jacket pulled tight around her shoulders. She's heading for a corner store, hoping to call her mom. But she'll never make it home. This is the story of Joanne Maria Jojo Pedersen. Joanne Pedersen was born May 17, 1972, the youngest of 3 daughters to Leo and Angela Pedersen. Her family affectionately called her Jojo, a sweet-natured, polite, always eager to help girl. After her parents divorced, Angela was granted full custody, and the court later restricted Leo's visitation rights. Life became a pattern of restarts. New schools, new neighbors, new routines. In 5 years, Joanne attended 6 different schools. By 1983, the family had finally settled into a townhouse complex in Vedder Crossing, a quiet neighborhood of Chilliwack. Chilliwack, British Columbia, sits in the heart of the Fraser Valley, about 100 kilometers east of Vancouver. Surrounded by farmland, mountains, and wide, winding rivers. It's a place where the city meets the countryside, where the hum of the highway fades quickly into the sound of rain on cedar trees and the distant rush of the Fraser River. Once a small agricultural town, Chilliwack grew out of a landscape of dairy farms, berry fields, and logging roads. The community stretches between the Vedder River in the south and the Fraser River to the north, framed by the Cascade Mountains and peaks like Mount Shiem and Elk Mountain. In the early 1980s, Chilliwack still felt like a tight-knit rural town. Kids rode their bikes along gravel roads, and neighbors knew one another by name. Friday nights meant gatherings at the Legion or the local rink. It's a place that can feel both safe and isolating, where fog rolls through the valley in the mornings and where rain lingers for days. From Joanne's front porch, they could see the faint glow of the Canadian Forces Base in Chilliwack. At Watson Elementary School, Joanne had begun to find her footing. Her teacher, Stuart Grafton, remembered her as gentle and friendly, quick to smile, quick to include others. She often missed class when she wasn't feeling well. Her diagnosis is unknown to the public, but her classmates described her as thoughtful, the kind of child everyone liked. It's a Saturday night. Joanne had gone to the mall with her 11-year-old sister Louise and her 14-year-old cousin. On the walk home, an argument starts, small, forgettable, but it would haunt those girls forever. Louise and her cousin run ahead, reaching home first, leaving Joanne behind. They slip inside, and as a prank, they lock Joanne out of the house. When Joanne finally arrives, she pounds on the front door, yelling for Louise to let her in, but no one unlocks the door. Her mother and stepfather are away at a birthday party at the Chilliwack Legion, unaware of what is unfolding back home. It is a chilly, rainy winter day, and after waiting a few minutes with no success of getting inside the house, cold and wet, Joanne decides to head to the nearby penny pincher store at Vedder and Watson Roads to use the phone to call her mom. She is wearing tan capri pants, a yellow t-shirt with "Touch of Class" written across the front, a blue sweater, and her pink sleeveless jacket. Her light brown hair, trimmed short with bangs just brushing her eyebrows, is already plastered to her cheeks from the rain. Inside the store, the clerk is busy with a lineup of customers, so Joanne steps back into the cold to use the payphone. She calls the operator for the Legion's number, then phones and asks them to put her mother on the phone. She tells Angela that Louise locked her out of the house and asks her mom to come and pick her up. Angela promises she'll be there right away. Moments later, another voice is heard in the background, a young man. He calmly tells Angela that if she doesn't arrive within half an hour, he'll call the police. Angela leaves immediately. About 15 to 20 minutes later, Angela turns onto Vetter Road, her headlights cutting through the sheets of rain. The windshield wipers thump back and forth, barely keeping up with the downpour. She pulls into the penny pincher parking lot, the car tires hissing across the puddles. The fluorescent light above the phone booth flickers and hums, casting a pale glow across the wet pavement. Through the blur of rain on the windshield, Angela stares at it, the booth standing empty in the storm. Her heart sinks. Joanne is nowhere in sight, and neither is the man. Frantic, Angela searches behind the store, calling her daughter's name into the downpour. Nothing. That call, a little girl reaching for help, was the last anyone ever heard from Jojo Pedersen. As daylight broke, officers began canvassing the neighborhood, questioning anyone who might have seen something. One witness reported spotting a man with Joanne at the phone booth around the time she made the call. A Caucasian male in his 20s, about 5'6" or 5'7", thin build with a mustache and wearing a leather jacket. But no one saw where they went. No car pulling away, no footprints leading into the dark. It was as though the rain had washed every trace of her away. Chilliwack RCMP, volunteers, and soldiers from Camp Chilliwack moved through the rain-soaked valley with flashlights and dogs, combing the banks of the Vetter River, pushing through blackberry brambles and cedar underbrush. They searched barns, ditches, and fields west of Vetter Road, calling her name into the early morning fog. Search coordinator Nell Granger told reporters that crews had already covered nearly 2.5 kilometers around the store. At one point, searchers found a small child's tank top. Hope surged for a moment, but it wasn't Joanne's. Sergeant David Ayres later told journalist Andrew Ross that teams had checked every possible place a child might hide or be hidden, in barns, garages, even forest trails leading toward the old military grounds. Yet, there was nothing. He states, quote, "It was as if she had vanished into the night," end quote. On March 5th, 1983, 2 weeks after Joanne disappeared, her grandmother Mary Riley's phone rang, and when she answered it, she was shook. On the other end was a man stating, quote, "You better listen to this," end quote. Then came the sound of a crying, sobbing child. Then the line went dead. Now, Mary's number was unlisted, known only to a few family members, including Joanne. Police actually believed the call was credible, but tracing it proved impossible. That single fleeting sound of a child's sob remained the last glimmer of hope. Joanne's disappearance devastated her family and the Chilliwack community. Her mother, Angela, appeared before cameras, struggling to hold herself together as she pleaded for the man last seen with her daughter to come forward. Her oldest daughter, Annalise, described Jojo as a tender, trusting child who sought reassurance from others, not someone who would ever run away. Her father, Leo Pedersen, though estranged, spoke publicly as well. He explained that after the divorce, he had tried to stay in touch but could never locate them as they moved from town to town. His plea was simple: whoever had Joanne should let her come home. Meanwhile, Sergeant Ayres urged residents to keep checking their properties, barns, sheds, garages, in case something had been missed. But despite weeks of tireless searching, no clues emerged, and on March 1st, 1983, the official search was suspended. Then came another frightening attack. Just 5 days later, a 12-year-old girl was attacked while walking home in Chilliwack. She bent down to pick up a pen she dropped when a man grabbed her from behind. Luckily, she managed to fight him off and escape. She described the attacker as being in his late 20s, but he was never caught. Because the assault happened only days after Joanne vanished, police could not ignore the timing. They wondered if the same predator might be responsible. Then, 5 months after Joanne's disappearance, another young girl vanished from the Fraser Valley. This time from Aldergrove, BC, about an hour's drive west of Chilliwack. Her name was Terry Lynn Scalp, and she was only 7 years old. It was Sunday, July 24th, 1983. Terry had been outside her townhouse complex, Cedar Park Estates, playing with friends. As twilight fell, the other kids drifted home, but Terry never did. By morning, police and volunteers were searching every field and drainage ditch around the neighborhood. Terry had been born on August 11, 1975. She was 3 feet 9 inches tall, about 65 pounds, with long blonde hair, blue eyes, and a small gap in her lower teeth where she'd recently lost one. When she vanished, she was wearing a light orange tank top, trimmed in blue and gold with USA on the chest, and the number 14 on the back, white shorts with red trim, and she was barefoot. She lived with her mother, 3 sisters, and her 12-year-old brother Jay. He later said his sister was always smiling, the kind of kid who could light up a room. 10 days after she went missing, RCMP investigators publicly acknowledged that they were exploring whether Terry Lynn Scalp's disappearance might be connected to Joanne Pedersen's. 2 young girls, both from the Fraser Valley, both vanished without a trace. For parents in the region, the fear was immediate and deeply familiar. The early 1980s was a terrifying time to raise a child in British Columbia. In the Lower Mainland and Fraser Valley, whispers of missing children had already become part of the nightly news. Only a few years earlier, a man whose name still sends chills through this province had been stalking the same stretch of valley, though at the time no one yet knew who he was. He was later identified as Clifford Robert Olson, one of Canada's most notorious serial killers. Between 1980 and 1981, Olson abducted and murdered 11 children and teenagers, boys and girls between the ages of 9 and 18. He preyed on the trust of young people, offering rides, jobs, or small gifts, and then vanished with them into the back roads and forests of the valley. When he was finally caught in 1981, the horror of what he had done shattered families from Burnaby to Chilliwack. Even after his arrest, fear lingered like fog across the Fraser Valley. Parents keeping children closer, teachers walking groups home, neighbors eyeing strangers with quiet suspicion. So when Terry Lynn disappeared in 1983, just months after Joanne, that old terror returned. People couldn't help but wonder if another predator had slipped into the shadows. Someone still out there preying on the valley's children. The questions came fast and without answers. Could this be connected to the same darkness that had haunted them before? Or was something new and equally terrifying happening all over again? Investigators pressed forward, desperate for leads. They soon confirmed that on the afternoon Terry disappeared, she had been seen between 4 and 5 p.m. near her home at Cedar Park Estates, in the company of a man and a 10-year-old girl. The man was later identified as Dennis Eldon Doddington, a 45-year-old with a long criminal record stretching across British Columbia and Alberta. His background was dark and violent. Car thefts, break-ins, weapons offenses, prison escapes, and multiple sexual assaults, involving both boys and girls, some as young as 6 years old. When his name surfaced, panic spread once again. Another convicted predator, right here, living among them. 6 years later, in 1989, Doddington was convicted of sexually assaulting 3 children, one of whom was the very girl who had been seen with him the day Terry vanished. He was sentenced to only 10 years in prison. While serving that time, Doddington reportedly confided to a fellow inmate that he had killed Terry Lynn Scaff. But with no physical evidence and no body ever recovered, police could not verify the claim. He was never charged in her disappearance. For Terry's family, that uncertainty became its own kind of life sentence. Years of not knowing, of replaying the same day over and over and over again, hoping someone might finally tell the truth. To this day, Terry Lynn's remains have never been found, and her case remains open. If you have any information, you can contact the Langley RCMP at 604-532-3200 or call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477 to remain anonymous. Although police never confirmed a direct link between Terry Lynn Scaff and Joanne Pedersen, the timing and the similarities still haunt the Fraser Valley. 2 small girls taken within months of one another, one from Aldergrove, one from Chilliwack, both vanishing without a trace and leaving families behind who still wait for answers. For decades, Joanne's case grew cold. Then, in 2008, RCMP released a composite sketch of the man seen with her outside the penny pinchers. The renewed attention brought 50 new tips and an anonymous letter containing information never made public. 3 years later, another letter arrived, even more detailed. Corporal Tammy Hollingsworth later explained that certain details could only have been known by someone directly involved. Police released a small sample of the handwriting, which you can see on my Instagram, hoping for recognition, but the author was never found. For many years, the man at the phone booth was viewed as the prime suspect. But after consultations with behavioral scientists, investigators began to consider that he might have genuinely been trying to help a frightened child caught in the rain. Constable Leanne Dunlop told reporters their hope was that, knowing this, he might finally step forward and share what he knew. But he never did. Then, in February 2023, on the 40th anniversary of Joanne's disappearance, RCMP made a startling announcement. They had identified the man seen in the phone booth that night. But he was not a suspect, nor a person of interest. They declined to name him or explain why he had been cleared. Veteran journalist John L. Daly, who covered the story from the beginning, said what many were thinking. Quote, "It's perplexing to learn RCMP have finally identified the mystery man after all these years, and are publicly stating that he's not even a person of interest. One can only wonder what they've told him, and why it took so long to find him, and why he didn't come forward earlier. Or have they discovered who he was, determined who he was, and he's dead? We don't know." End quote. I think he said it best. The uncertainty, the frustration, the ache of not knowing, after all these years, we still don't have the truth. Joanne Pedersen, a 10-year-old girl who called her mom for help and waited under the harsh glow of a buzzing light. A little girl who believed her family was on the way, and when her mother arrived, the booth stood empty. The phone dangling by its cord, rainwater pooling at her feet. That moment, that silence, has haunted this community of Chilliwack ever since. I picture her now, a child with light brown hair and wide brown eyes, wearing her pink jacket and blue sweater, her shoes soaked from the rain. Maybe she's humming to herself, trusting the world to be kind, trusting that someone will come. But no one saw where she went. And for 40 years, no one has been able to tell her family why. So we keep saying her name. We keep telling her story, because somewhere, someone remembers that night. Someone saw something. And maybe one day, that silence will finally break. If you know anything about what happened to Joanne Pedersen, please contact the Chilliwack RCMP at 604-792-4611 or call Crime Stoppers anonymously at 1-800-222-8477 because Joanne, Jojo, deserves to come home. Thank you for listening to Valley of Secrets. I've had a few people reach out asking how they can help support the podcast. And honestly, just being here, listening, and sharing these stories already means so much. If you'd like to go a little further, there are a couple of ways to do that. You can follow along on Instagram or Facebook at Valley of Secrets Podcast. Share the episodes with your friends and family. Or, if you'd like to contribute to keep the show going, you can make a small monthly donation through the link in the episode notes under the source information. All of your support is very appreciated. Every listen, every follow, and every share helps keep these voices and their memories alive. I'll see you all next week. Until then, stay aware, stay safe, and stay curious.